I listened to a really interesting podcast the other day from Make It British. And this is a company that's been around for a while. It's been championing made in Britain, British manufacturing, British sellers. And it grew out of something very small and became something very big and something very complicated. And I think for many small businesses, especially here in the UK, that are grounded here in the UK, 2023 has produced its own set of challenges. You know, we've survived the pandemic. Those of us who are still in business have survived the pandemic. And the worst of it in 2020, the tail end of it in 2021, and getting back on track, and in 2022. And then at the end of 2022, things start to dip. And you can get the feeling that the economic crisis has changed, cost of living crisis, and now in 2023 we have all sorts of challenges. And it's made many of us think really carefully about what we want, not just in life in general, but from our businesses. So I decided that as I saw business dropping, and because to a greater degree a lot of it's out of my control, because I am a small business with no marketing budget, I work from home, it's just me, and as I saw the income drop, I decided that my priorities lay in just getting my income from anywhere. And you might think, well, that's a bad thing because I should be focusing all on my business. But it's been a very positive thing. I have started 2 new income streams this year, or certainly within the last few months since August. One of them is a part-time job, but it's still self-employed. The other one is, I think of it as an employment, but it's very sporadic. So at the best I can earn every 3 months. And it now means that I have 12 income streams of varying degrees which form my income. And it's not all business, and that's fine. The thing is that I started my business out of a hobby, and I never wanted my business to become a chore or something that I disliked, something that I considered the enemy that held me back. And so making the very conscious decision to worry less about my business and just go and find my income elsewhere means that I still like my business. I can still use it as a creative outlet, but I'm no longer dependent on it. I never wanted to become dependent on my business because I work in a very saturated market. There are numerous challenges to being a fashion designer seller, a jewellery designer seller, and doing the homeware stuff that I also do. It's really, really difficult. So making those decisions has been really important. And when I was listening to this podcast yesterday, it was basically an update on where Make It British is going. And she used to do a very regular podcast, and we hadn't heard anything since May. And I think things have been challenging, as they always are. And I think that she has been taking a very long, hard look at all the aspects of what Make It British does, picking out the pieces that don't work anymore, the things that are not holding their ground in the current climate. And that's a very brave but a very strong thing to do. If you can streamline your business down to the bits that do work, and if you're able to throw out the bits that just don't work for you anymore. That's a bit of a superpower right now. I think if you can take your business, scale it back to the important bits, the bits that create the income or that create the customer base and enable you to keep going, that is a really, really powerful thing right now. and particularly if it makes it more manageable and it's good for your mental health and your stress levels and your ability to stay on top of the work. And of course enable you to then pursue other things by taking the income equation out of my business and finding my money elsewhere. I've taken the pressure off just having to make stuff. I mean, I have a well-stocked shop, so it's not that I don't have anything. It's not that I've run out of supplies and I can't make anything. It's simply that the customer base isn't there at the moment. You know, we're all struggling just to keep roofs over our heads and food on the table. Me included. I've stopped buying anything that isn't a non-essential. So why should I expect other people to in such tough times? And I know there are people still out there with money, and I continue to advertise in the usual ways. I have been able to focus more on that by taking the income pressure off. I am looking into and experimenting with other methods of advertising my business and walking away from the ones that don't work, like Instagram. So Instagram, where a post has a 48-hour lifespan, versus Pinterest, which is more of a search engine and the posts will sit there forever, and provided you're doing things right, will be found over time. And it takes a long time to gain traction on Pinterest, and I've only started that in the last month. So it's going to take time, but I'm trying to be good with it and post. I'm not very good with social media, so having to constantly post things I find boring and laborious and unhelpful for me. But I am trying to stick with that, and by taking other social media things like Instagram out of the equation and putting the energy into the things that I can now experiment with more, like Pinterest and like YouTube, I'm not trying to spread myself so thinly across lots of platforms that don't work for me. So that's been really helpful, and Make It British, I can see, is doing similar things, streamlining, throwing out the bits that no longer seem to work. Perhaps because it's the current climate, or perhaps that's a permanent change. It doesn't really matter. You just need to be able to see that from the outside. And it's really hard to do when it's your business and you're precious about every aspect of it and you want it to be this amazing thing, but you have to be really tough. I'm enjoying the process of toughening up in that respect, and also finding my work elsewhere, because it's quite a lonely life when you work for yourself and there's no one else to really get involved with. Yes, there are networking events and other bits and pieces, but sometimes just being able to do something completely different is what you need. Maybe I don't want to always talk about business. Maybe I just need a brain reset and I need to be able to do things that are totally unrelated, which just get me out mixing with people, seeing other ways of life. So that's been really helpful and is keeping me focused and motivated and making me feel useful, because I'm now bringing in money that is paying the bills and I'm not worrying about money anymore. But as I say, I have 12 income streams now, so that money's coming in from all different places. It means that I'm spreading my risk thinly, so if one thing goes down, it's not like a tower pack of cards coming down around me, because there are always other income streams. So that's really invaluable. I would never put all my income into one job. The last few years have shown that that is a very dangerous thing to do. Never trust an employer to have your best interests at heart. It's about profit margins and CEO pay packets, and the workers at the bottom don't really matter as much. And we see that even now with the lack of pay rises, the lack of the living wage. So cover all your bases, protect yourself. If you're a small business and you're kind of looking at the overview and wondering what on earth to do, this is some of the things that you can do. Listen to the podcast. I will add a link in the show notes because it's a really interesting listen. It's not that long. It's not a really long episode, but it explains a lot, and you might find that the process that she has used to come to her decisions is something that you can implement in your business if you're struggling. And if you're somebody who's looking at small businesses and wondering what on earth's going on, I hope that this gives you an idea of some of the challenges and helps you appreciate the struggle that's going on out there. So I hope this has been interesting. Please like and subscribe, as always. I'm trying to do more of these conversational posts rather than just the product ones. The product ones are useful from a product perspective, but it's not increasing my followership. And I don't really know what that involves at the moment. I don't know if I'm aiming at other businesses. I want it to be a product channel because I want to introduce viewers to my products so that they'll buy stuff. It's the bottom line. But I realise that when I do the head-to-head talks, a lot of it is probably to other businesses. So I'm not too sure where this YouTube is really going at the moment. I don't know whether I should split it and have a business-focused one and then a product-focused one, or just to carry on as I am. It's still very early days. YouTube channels take a while to get traction. Mine's only been running since the end of March. So I'm going to have a think about where this focus should be. It can take time. My other channel, which I started last December, which is a personal one, has bumbled along for a while, not doing very well, and suddenly in the last month I've gained a lot of new followers and new contact from lots of new comments and things like that. So it may be, I don't know if it's the subject matter that I'm talking about or whether it's just the general gain in traction because of the amount of time I've been there and the amount of posts that I do. So it might be a similar thing. So I'm going to stick with this and see where it goes. But as I said before, please like and subscribe. Lots of extra things coming up around here, and I'll speak to you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.